Welcome to Art Appreciation, Global Heritage, Chapter 14, The Renaissance. This is Part 5. Leonardo da Vinci. During the Renaissance, artists joined scholars in a search for the fundamental cosmic truth of proportion, order, and harmony. At the beginning of the era, the medieval tradition of looking to the authors of the past for these truths remain. Ancient masters like Aristotle were considered to have almost sacred authority, second only to the Old and New Testaments. Leonardo da Vinci was familiar with the old texts, but questioned them too. Unlike most of his contemporaries, he wanted to find out things for himself. If he came across a problem, he would not look solely for the answer in books. He would devise experiments to help solve it. Leonardo was a leader on a new path to nature and imagination, and a scientific approach to knowledge. For example, to learn about flying, he would watch birds, not just read books. His famous drawing of Vitruvian Man is a good example of his approach. He connects the ancient architect's theory of ideal proportions to fit the actual ones of human beings. The method Leonardo used is called inductive reasoning, where one observes phenomena directly, then uses information gathered to develop general rules. The medieval method is known as deductive reasoning, where already accepted general rules determine how you explain natural phenomena. Leonardo da Vinci is the embodiment of the term Renaissance man because he worked in so many fields: anatomy, aeronautics, hydraulics, military engineering, and urban planning. During his long lifetime, he imagined helicopters, armored vehicles, air conditioning, brakes, and transmissions. Among his many discoveries are his water flows, how birds fly, and how the heart pumps blood. Yet Leonardo never thought of himself as a scientist. He was first and foremost an artist. He believed that observation and investigation of the laws of nature were necessary for an artist to have a true understanding in order to produce works of art. But of course, it was more than that. As revealed in his notebooks full of detailed drawings, Leonardo, like many of his contemporaries, was in love with the act of seeing. He epitomized the Renaissance's enthusiastic rediscovery of the natural world. This is Leonardo's The Virgin of the Rocks. It marks a new period in art, the High Renaissance. Compare it to a work of 30 years earlier, Mantegna's The Dead Christ. Mantegna's picture seems stiff. Its cold clarity seems impoverished here when contrasted with the liquid atmosphere and subtle muted light of Leonardo's picture. In this painting, hard edges are non-existent. While it looks real, it is more like a dream, a vision. The figures of the Virgin Mary, the infant Jesus, his cousin John the Baptist, and the angel are not entirely of this world, nor should they be. The Virgin of the Rocks shows the perfect ease and accomplishment, the effortlessness, the grazia that Renaissance artists were looking for. But underlying the softness is a new structural innovation, the geometric underpinning, which will be used throughout the Renaissance, the figure triangle. The figured triangle was common in Renaissance compositions, a triangular arrangement of elements, often figures. Leonardo also used a new medium that had been developed in Northern Europe, oil painting. The smooth and subtle transitions between light and dark, made possible by this revolutionary medium, allowed him to revolutionize portraiture. For the dining hall of the monastery in Milan, Leonardo painted the Last Supper. To make the event vivid to his Dominican brothers, he placed Christ's table in line with the tables of the monks. All the figures are life-size. The moment he chose to portray is when Christ discloses to his followers, "One of you will betray me." The apostles react with the announcement in different ways, according to their character. Some recoil in horror. Others discuss who could have betrayed their master. One gentle soul asked Jesus if it could have been himself, Judas, the only figure whose face is in darkness. He pulls back from Jesus and clutches his bag of silver. The Last Supper shows a masterful use of perspective and symmetry. Leonardo used Christ's head as the vanishing point, so all parallel lines on ceiling and walls lead directly to the center of attention. While no halo is actually painted above Christ's head, the pediment above creates one, and the light from the center window creates an aura around him. This is Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper from 1495 to 1498. Unfortunately, The Last Supper began to deteriorate almost immediately. Leonardo, incessant experimenter that he was, had altered the traditional chemistry of fresco to allow more opportunities to make changes. The experiment was not a success. Even in Leonardo's own time, pieces of paint began to fall off the wall. Today, after a time-consuming restoration to preserve what remains, some art historians estimate the restored picture is no more than 20% of the original. So several things actually happened. Not only did he experiment with the paint, which made it flake off the wall pretty quickly, Napoleon stabled some horses in this room, which caused some damage. And then during World War II, bombs fell near the monastery and shook the walls of the building, causing further damage. Because of his genius, Leonardo, the child of a peasant, was given a high social position and became familiar with kings and queens. The King of France even threw his own mother out of her chateau so Leonardo could stay there, and could not believe that there was another man born in this world who knew as much as he did. Actually, many think that Leonardo might have been the most intelligent human being that ever lived. But towards the end of his life, Leonardo, acknowledged as the great artist of his time, felt the challenge of a younger man who would become the predominant artist of the High Renaissance. Thank you, and that's the end of this lecture.